Despite multiple warnings, a man consistently discovered his parking space occupied by an unknown person's car. Fueled by frustration, he resolved to utilize his mechanical skills to address the issue. Upon seeing the car in his spot yet again as he entered the parking lot, a wave of both annoyance and ingenuity washed over him. His stern expression gave way to a sly grin. He had devised a plan that would make the car's owner reconsider parking there again. Known on Reddit as Angry Aussies, this individual had repeatedly found that polite notes did nothing to deter the persistent offender. Unfortunately for this rude driver, Angry Aussie possessed a distinctive skill set, ideal for executing a memorable plan. For him, being a mechanic was more than a job. It was a lifelong passion that ignited during his adolescence. He cherished every chance to tinker with vehicles, captivated by the complex world of gears and bolts. Now, he recognized the perfect moment to apply his expertise in a way that the thoughtless driver would not soon forget. By the time our vengeful Redditor was an adult, he had obtained his certificate in vehicle maintenance and had completed his apprenticeship with flying colors. He was proficient in every aspect of his trade, and he had learned the skills to lay the foundation for the act of ultimate revenge that he would exact years later. If only the inconsiderate driver had known just how far he was willing to go. Angry Aussie had lived in an apartment block with allocated parking bays and an underground lot. The division was simple. Each apartment was allowed access to 2 parking bays that were situated with one in front of the other, lined up in 2 rows. This meant that careful coordination was needed to ensure one car was never parked in against the wall. This inconsiderate tenant would often park in the space that our Redditor would leave open for his visitors, effectively parking him in. Angry Aussie had been greeted with this infuriating sight on a number of occasions. The problem was that, due to the large apartment block size, he didn't know exactly who the offender was. First, he resorted to peaceful tactics, but things escalated quickly. One particular Saturday afternoon, Angry Aussie was getting ready to go away for the weekend with his friends. He walked to his car, and lo and behold, the rude driver had parked in front of his car again. He had written a polite note to the driver just the week before and had left it on his windshield. He had kindly asked him to refrain from parking his car on Friday afternoons, but it seemed like his request hadn't gotten through. So he started to think about what to do next. He called the building manager to see if they could help. He patiently explained the situation. This rude driver had obviously had one too many the night before and had failed to remove the car by Saturday morning, giving no thought to what an inconvenience he had caused the owner of the parking space. As he talked, he was becoming angrier and angrier, but the building manager was unwilling to help. Then, he called the towing company, but they couldn't help him either. The parking lot was on the 3rd floor, and they wouldn't be able to get a truck up because of the height restriction. Then, a red mist descended on our editor, and he realized that he was going to have to take matters into his own hands. Angry Aussie started to hatch a plan. He chuckled with glee. This audacious man was going to wish he hadn't parked in his space. He was going to make him pay in the most spectacular way. So he called his friends, and they drove to his garage to fetch the most prized tool of his trade. Imagining the rude man's angry face all the while, our Redditor mechanic fetched his vehicle positioning jack and 6 of his burliest mates. He attached the jacks to each one of the offending car's wheels securely, and then they started to push. He felt the hydraulics lift the car effortlessly. The wheels on the jacks made light work of moving the staggering weight as they maneuvered the car around until it was facing the opposite direction. But he wasn't done then. He and his friends pushed with all their strength and wheeled the car through to the other side of the parking lot. There was no parking bay gear, and it was perfect. There was a load-supporting beam with a tiny space behind it, so they squeezed the car in with its nose facing the wall. "Good luck finding your car," Angry Aussie exclaimed gleefully as he stood back to admire his handiwork. With his work done, he went along his way with his friends for their planned weekend trip, but all the while, he was bursting with glee. What would the audacious man do when and if he eventually found his car in such a tight spot? He couldn't wait to come back and find out. When our merry prankster returned from his trip, The offending car was unsurprisingly still where they had left it, but the front wheels had been turned. Angry Aussie and his friends couldn't stop laughing at the thought of the man's puzzled face as he saw that his car was missing, and then his frustration on realizing where it was, and funniest of all, his failed attempt to move it. It was no surprise that the inconsiderate man hadn't been able to move his car. There was only about a foot between it and the wall, and another foot between the car and the pillar. But when our enterprising mechanic looked for it again the following day, it was gone, and he never saw it again. The exact method Angry Aussie used to extricate the car from its snug spot remains a mystery. However, he's confident that the thoughtless tenant won't soon forget the lesson about respecting others' parking spaces. Interestingly, the tenant had unknowingly chosen to inconvenience a skilled mechanic who was more than capable of orchestrating a highly satisfying parking payback, a feat that quickly became legendary on Reddit upon sharing his well-thought-out prank. Angry Aussie was met with a wave of disbelief and admiration on Reddit. His story struck a chord with many who have silently wished to confront rude drivers, making his act of revenge even more gratifying. His post gained rapid popularity in a pro-revenge thread, sparking amusement and approval globally. The Redditor's inventive approach and skillful execution garnered broad acclaim. He received particular recognition for resolving the issue effectively without resorting to violence. Yet, some on Reddit raised concerns about the legality of his methods, hinting at possible accusations of theft. In his defense, Angry Aussie explained that legal issues would only surface if he had unlawfully entered the vehicle or had intentions of selling, lending, or otherwise disposing of it. He reasoned that the situation could have been more problematic if he had relocated the car off-site. However, he maintained that he was merely accessing his own parking space. This situation prompts the question, has the careless driver learned an important lesson from this ordeal? I'm really keen to know your thoughts on this story, so please don't hesitate to share your insights in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and found it engaging, I invite you to subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Feel free to share this video with your friends and family to spread the enjoyment. Take good care of yourselves, and I'm excited to connect with you in our future videos.